Classical SQL code injection and no SQL code injection. How does it happen? Users provide input data to a web application. This data is then processed at the backend within SQL statements or no SQL queries. A famous example would be a search function on a website, but in general all user data is relevant here. It could also be a username or password. For instance, think about database queries for authentication. When this user data is processed unfiltered as string within a statement, attackers could be able to alter the statement code itself and execute this at the backend. This might lead not only to unintentional data exposure, but also to unintentional data or database modifications. A simplified code example including a security vulnerability. In this case we are using Java. Let's assume there has been a transfer of user input data through a framework, a servlet, JSP, CGI, whatever, and a database connection has been created. Let's assume a simple statement is created with the goal to update a user's password. For this, an SQL update statement is created in a string, and the username and the old and the new password are copied into this statement using strings. This is, of course, highly insecure. Why? A user input string like password 123 quotation mark, in this case the single quote is used, could change the statement's syntax. In our case, we assume that the double minus character starts a SQL code comment, and hence all passwords in the table user would be overwritten by the new password. This is of course a simplified example because not in all circumstances with database systems the double dash would be interpreted as a comment. However, believe it or not, similar cases of SQL code injection errors can still be found in productive environments. Secure programming. First rule, a strict separation of database commands and user inputs has to be implemented. For this purpose, well-established programming constructs have to be used. Own filter methods should never be used. Getting back to our Java example, it is the same use case, so the same preparation, but now not simple statements are used, but prepared statements. As you can see, where previously we copied strings together, now the SQL statement is a single string and the parameters are simply replaced with question marks. The content of these parameters is now put into the statement using the setString method. What's happening in the background here is that all strings put into the statement using this method are correspondingly quoted or encoded depending on the specific database SQL. The statement's syntax itself cannot be altered. So in summary, in this example, so-called prepared statements have been used. This means a system-inherent separation of SQL commands and user inputs. This is independent of the database system, in this case in Java. Alternatively, stored procedures on the database system level could be used. These would follow the same concept. Similar constructs like prepared statements are included in all popular languages and systems, so Java, Perl, Microsoft, etc. No SQL systems have similar query interfaces and similar problems. However, these are less standardized and so no general solution can be provided here. In this case, you have to check your individual NoSQL environment. The API documentation of each programming environment will lead to further details how to use these secure programming constructs within your own application.